All right, Fresh, let's go to our first game of the week here with everything. This game is going to be played on December 29th. It's the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. It's the Missouri Tigers, a surprise team out of the SEC this year, going 10-2 on the season. And they're going to be facing an interesting Ohio State Buckeyes out of the Big Ten. They're 11-1, only lost this year, coming to the University of Michigan. Right now, at time of recorded, this is a pick'em game. This spread has bounced all over the place. It opened up at 3.5. Fresh, you saw at 1.1. I saw at one point a place that had Missouri as a 2.5 point favorite. So the spread has kind of moved around a little bit. Over under is set at 48.5 right now. Current opt outs for this game. Ohio State has a couple. We are still waiting word on Travion Henderson, and also we're waiting word on Marvin Harrison Jr. It looks like Abuka's playing. Julian Fleming, he's out of there. He's gone there. Cade Stover has opted. It looks like he's opted out as well. There's a couple other guys that we're still waiting. Denzel Burke is playing, which is a huge one for them. As for Missouri, there's not really a whole lot. Chad Bailey, he's out with an injury. It looks like maybe a few other guys are mulling around, but Missouri looks like they're going to be at full strength for the Cotton Bowl. Fresh, what you got going on for Ohio State, Missouri?
Well, I think this is an intriguing matchup, but early on, I think we all had looked at it, maybe Ohio State, if they didn't make the playoff, that they were going to all go in the portal or all opt out, and this game was just going to be like an exhibition for them and really didn't mean much. And, with Harrison still not declaring, I think that's carried some weight. Obviously, Kyle McCord is gone, so we're going to get a real show a case of Devin Brown. But the rest of the guys in the defense, for the most part, sort of hanging in there and have yet to declare or intended to play. It says something that what Ryan Day and that staff have sort of galvanized. You hope, at least if you're a Buckeye fan, galvanize the entire team to, we got something to prove. We played a tough game. We lost to Michigan. I get it. Move on. We had a couple close scares there on signing day, but we came through. We landed, a top 5 class. Now we need to go out in the field and prove that we are still one of the elite college football programs in the nation. Missouri, I think, presents a challenge where you can get up for it because, number one, we're always going to have the Big Ten SEC, battle back and forth on which is better, who's, has more depth, et cetera, et cetera. Well, here's a chance right now to, for Ohio State to make a statement in a big bowl game, go out there and take care of business and shut down Missouri, who's had a pretty solid season, an upstart team with a very exciting offense. Look back the past 2 years when Ohio State has not made, in the first game after losing to Michigan, they go into the Rose Bowl and they put on a heck of a show. Defense struggled, but they put on a heck of a show and pulled away from Utah. And then last year, a classic, unfortunately, 1 point loss. If you're a Ohio State Buckeye fan, if you're a Georgia fan, you're happy, but a thriller in the Peach Bowl in the playoff. The team responded both times to play. And that, I think, I got a feeling we're going to get the same kind of effort because there's something that's on their shoulder of we are better than what we looked in that last game, and we're going to come out here and play with everything we got. With that said, are some of the players not fully motivated? Like, you might come out there in the first couple of half, but if it's a ball game where it gets tough, do some of the guys just like, pack it in, whatever. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. will. I don't think Abuka will. But you sort of, where's that team's focus fully there? Early on, they might be jacked up, but if it becomes a ball game or they're down, do they sort of pack in like, whatever, it's not a playoff game. We've seen it many years since the playoffs had been involved where a team that's right on the cusp, you get one or the other when it comes to that next bowl game. You get a team that's really pissed off and they come out, guns a-blazing, if you will, and light it up because they are mad that the committee left them out. And then you have the other extreme where they completely out there and lay an egg. They're not focused. There's no in between. So what kind of Ohio State team is going to come here? What does Ryan Day have with this football team? I think with guys right now still have yet to declare, I think it's a good sign that they're locked in and totally focused on what they need to be going forward. Missouri, I have a feeling they're going to come in this game a little amped. This is a huge deal for Missouri. We kind of talked about 8-4 for one team and 8-4 for the other. One's a success and one's a failure, depending on the program and their record. This is a big, big deal for Missouri. Will this team be overamped? Will this team be in awe of being in the Cotton Bowl and playing Ohio State, playing on the 29th with everyone watching? Will that be a little too much for Brady Cook, for Luther Burden, for Schrader, for that defense when the lights are bright? Or will they, will they come on adrenaline in the first quarter and then once they get settled in, they sort of just play normal football, maybe make a couple of mistakes, a little too much jittery in the beginning? That's kind of what I'm also looking at from that. How does Coach Drink keep this team focused for the full 60 minutes, and not too over the top when they're coming to the ball game? They have talent. They've shown it. They played a tough game, and they kind of lost it late versus LSU. They played Georgia to the wire 2 years in a row now. Lost by 9 in Athens, but they played a heck of a ball game. There's a lot of talent, and these guys are fully locked in. They're bringing some kids in the portal. They've done a great job recruiting for next year going forward. Can they use this as a springboard? I think both. I think their offense is going to have to carry them in this ballgame because they are playing a very solid Ohio State defense. The offense is going to have to be very efficient for Missouri. If they turn the ball over or have a couple 3 and outs, I think that'll give Ohio State a lot of momentum. You've got to be able to keep the drives going, keep Ohio State's defense at bay, and find ways to score touchdowns. Field goals will not beat Ohio State. On the other side, Ohio State, a lot of ins and outs. Devin Brown, first real action in a while. This team, come out there, get an early lead. Play loose. You have nothing to lose. If you lose the ball game, you can say, well, whatever. You have a built-in excuse of like, whatever. We're not in the playoff. It doesn't matter to us. But you also have, Ohio State pride in the line. Come out there, get after it, put the pressure on Missouri. If you score some points, you put them on their back heels. You may have them look over their shoulder a little bit. Maybe get them start thinking that maybe they're too big for the ball game and they're not where they're supposed to be. This is the battle of the big boys. Devin Brown, though, be calm. Don't try to, get too much in the moment. Use your legs. You are much more of a mobile quarterback. Use your legs a little bit in the perimeter. Run the football. Get your ball to your running backs. And also, without goes without saying, get the ball to Harrison Jr. as much as you possibly can if he's playing. You have the talented horses on the outside. Use them. You have the offensive line. Use it. Punish it. Ryan Day, the past 2 times you've come out in a bowl game, you've coached great and you've coached focused. Don't coach scared of this ball game. You have the depth. You're Ohio State. You've recruited for a while. You're bringing in top 5 classes every year. Test the depth. This is actually a challenge for your entire team. You're more than just the 1 or 2 guys that are opted out. You have a full squad. Challenge the guys who want to develop and get better. This is an opportunity. Use this as a springboard for next year and to build this program beyond it. Because obviously, 12-team playoff, you have a lot more momentum going in. Where is your mindset? I think you have a chance right now to keep building forward. The Ohio State brand is huge. Obviously, it's legendary, and you can't lay a dud in this ball game because you will hear about it. Play tough, play focused, drive it after it, get after Missouri. Don't give them an inch. Attack early and often. Do what you did against Utah. Do what you did against Georgia in the past 2 bowl games. Get after them. Don't give up against Missouri because if you come in there and lay down, that team's going to have energy and they're going to be excited to be there and they'll take advantage of it and they'll let them go. I have a feeling this will be a pro-Ohio State crowd. It's in Texas. Missouri fans are going to be great, but I think Ohio State fans, they still travel. And Jerry World is an experience that Ohio State hasn't had yet. So those fans will actually want to get down to Dallas and fill that stadium up. So take advantage of the crowd. Keep them involved. Get after it. Don't give Missouri an inch. In the end, I think Ohio State has that chip on their shoulder, and they're going to be the tougher team when it comes down to it. They have a better defense, and they have something to prove, I think, and they're going to come after it, and they're going to get it done, and Ohio State will win the Cotton Bowl, and they will take out Missouri.
Yeah, Fresh. This is an interesting, very, very interesting matchup because I looked at a couple of guys, especially on Missouri. Missouri's been the upstart team of the season here. And one of the things that they've done is, while we've gotten so used to Ohio State being this high-powered, run and gun offense that's throwing the ball all over the place, this year Ohio State was really led by that defense. Jim Knowles, the story on Jim Knowles for years has been year 2 in his defensive system, it really kind of starts to take off. Year 1, you see those changes, you see the improvement on the defensive side of the football, but it's year 2 that the takeoff really starts to happen, and that's kind of what we saw this season. I'm curious on seeing how the Ohio State run defense matches up against a Corey Schrader type of player. Schrader right now, 5 100-yard plus games. He just ended the season against Arkansas with a 200-yard game. He's got 5 of his last games, 6 out of the last 7, and 7 out of the last 9. He's crossed the century mark. That's an impressive job out of him. How does Ohio State's run defense match up against whatever Missouri's going to try to do running the football? Whether they saw something from the game at the end of November, something that they were able to see like, hey, Blake Corum was able to run the football against Ohio State in this type of look. And where they have these extra bowl practices where you can put in a wrinkle, where you can put in something a little bit different that's not the week in, week out where you go, this is our system, this is our grind, this is an opportunity for them to kind of throw something differently. That's definitely a matchup I'm watching throughout this. I want to see, because it looks like majority of Ohio State's defensive line is going to be playing in this game. We still haven't heard about JTT yet at time of record, so maybe hopefully we'll get clarity on him within the next couple of days. But I'm interested to see how Missouri's offensive line versus the Ohio State defensive line, that matches up. The other matchup that I'm really fascinated by is going to be Denzel Burke versus Luther Burden. That is a game changer of a matchup right there. Luther Burden, probably one of, I would say, easily, arguably the top 3 wide receivers in the SEC this past year. He's done a phenomenal job over there in Missouri, and especially with the idea that, Missouri wasn't expected to do this. He kind of burst on the scene. He had a lot of really big games, a lot of really big catches for the Tigers. I'm interested to see how he matches up against Burke. It's going to tell us a lot about both players. Burke is going into the draft this year, it looks like. So is Denzel Burke a first-round pick? He has an opportunity to put some really good highlights on tape right now if he goes toe-to-toe with Luther Burden. I'm not saying that he's going to shut down Luther Burden. I'm saying that if let's say he holds him to 4 catches for 39 yards in the game. I mean, he still has, a couple of catches where he does pretty well. You could see a difference in there. You can start to say, man, this kid's got some real talent, and really improve his draft stock here. In the end, I think it's going to get real interesting with what's going to be the difference between this Ohio State offense with Devin Brown leading the charge over Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord, he's out of there. No need to kind of talk about him much more on the season. He's now the starting quarterback over there at Syracuse. Devin Brown, much more mobile, much more athletic quarterback. He's getting rave reviews out of these bowl game practices, but kind of as I said to Fresh, what are coaches going to say? They're going to rave about him. They're going to say all the right things here. We want to see it on the field, and we need to see it against Missouri. This is going to tell us a lot going into spring practice for Ohio State. If you're an Ohio State fan, it's going to tell us, is Devin Brown the guy? Do you need to still go out? There's a lot of big names still hanging out there in the transfer portal. Or are you going to have an opportunity to go with a true quarterback competition with Kleinholtz, Brown, and Aaron Nolan going into the spring, going into 24 here? A lot of things there. Travion Henderson, he needs a big game because there's possibility talk of him coming back right now. So there's a lot of things going on here with Ohio State. Very intriguing storylines. And Missouri is looking to set themselves up for a big-time run in 24. This is a team that if they stay together, and it looks like Missouri is going to keep majority of their pieces together going into next year, this team is looking for an opportunity to get one of those at-large bids once we go to the 12-team playoff here. One thing, last note, before I go on past this and give you my pick for this game, let's say Harrison does opt out in this football game. We're still waiting word on that. I think he's going to probably opt out. I don't know what he's going to have to play for this game, especially I think that he should go NFL draft. I point back a couple of years ago to the Rose Bowl where Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave opted out of the game. And in that Rose Bowl, C.J. Stroud threw the ball all over Utah's defense. While we had known the name Jackson Smith-Njigba, he really balled out and showed out in that football game. And Marvin Harrison Sr.'s son balled out in that game. He wasn't Marvin Harrison Jr. that we know now. He was Senior's son, and he was on Ohio State. And that was kind of his coming out announcing party. Is this an announcement party for a guy like Carnell Tate? Is this an announcement party for a guy like Brandon Inniss? One of these young wide receivers that have been a 5-star wide receiver, they're uber talented. Is this an announcement game for them? I think it's going to be an interesting football game. Give me Ohio State. I like Ohio State by a field goal. I think this game's close. I think Missouri is going to keep with Ohio State. In the end, I like Ohio State's defense a little bit better than Missouri's offense. So give me the Buckeyes. Give me the Buckeyes by, I would say 4 right now is where I kind of feel comfortable. And that 48 right there is a little low for me. I got a feeling the over is going to come in on this one.
Yeah, I got a feeling offense will tick up lately, and especially in the second half.
Yeah. All right, Fresh. Let's go to our second bowl game here. It is